What is up, everyone? Good morning. It is Saturday, April 16th, 2022. We're 4 months into the year right now. I know it's always cliche to say, how did it happen so quickly? But gosh, it's happening kind of quickly right now. But long story short, this is one consistent part of your week that I can count on being here most of the times. And people like Jim, who just said good morning, also appearing and showing up. So I'm grateful I get to do this each and every single Saturday. 2 weeks from now, we do have a celebration of sobriety at Buckeye Recovery Network, which I think I'm going to live stream at the same time or a little bit later, the same thing, so people can watch it from wherever they are. But let me do a quick introduction of myself while we're waiting for some of the viewers to come on. So my name is Param. I do this each and every single Saturday at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And I have a master's degree in marriage and family therapy, so that kind of helps me have some type of a educational foundation to provide this. I'm also a licensed advanced alcohol and drug counselor, so I've been working specifically in the field of addictions, various types of addictions, and I also am in recovery myself. So June 13th, 2008 is the day that I was able to change my life around and stick to that date, and so I have a unique blend of personal experience, professional experience, and education that hopefully creates the platform to be able to share for anyone that's watching this right now. And good morning to everyone that's coming in, Hossein, Debbie, Julian, whoever else is going to come in right now in advance. Good morning. I noticed that we have a lot of family members that are on this show often. And family members, their dynamics a little bit different than those who have gone through addiction firsthand, because it's secondhand trauma. But they experience the same consequences of psychological, mental, emotional, physical impact that addiction has on themselves. And, one of the ways that family members are always phrased in recovery, it's this word codependency. And I know I've done a few talks on codependency before. I've taught you about the signs and symptoms of it. I've done a checklist to see if you identify as one. But there's someone that is much smarter than me, and there's someone that is much more well-rounded than me, who is kind of the pioneer in the work of codependency. And her name happens to be Melody Beattie. So there's a book that she wrote, Codependent No More. I think it was like in the 1980s, where it was kind of the first time it brought to light the signs, symptomology of codependency. And so many people resonated with it to the point that it got translated to pretty much every language, including Farsi. And it's best-selling book, one of the best-selling books of all time. She's a self-help kind of a guru, if you will. She has a couple daily reads. One of them is called, it's kind of like a daily reflections, Codependent No More, with Melody Beattie. So what I'm going to do right now, it's called The Language of Letting Go. Sorry. So what I want to do is I kind of went through her writings and some of her quotes and some of the more profound quotes that she has, and I gather them all up, and I'm going to share them with you, but I'm going to explain kind of what it is that I'm reading. And the whole goal and the whole insight is whether you are a codependent or you are a individual going through addictions, which I believe a lot of people who struggle with addictions also have some underlying codependency issues going on with them. Even if they sometimes feel completely selfish and they don't care, I think it's the opposite. I think they care so much and care so deeply that they feel that way. And what's up, Ken? Kenny DeBow, what's up? Good to hear from you, man. I always follow your pictures of different traveling stuff that you do all over the country, and I hope you're doing well. Hope the family's doing well, and thank you for being here for however minutes you're going to be here. So I'm going to go through 10 of these quotes, share them with you, and again, this is an open format. Mom and Dad, what's up? This is open format. If anybody wants to ask questions, if anybody wants to completely say, hey, can you talk about this instead, feel free to. I do a good job interacting, but let's get into it. Cataline, what's up? Good morning. So the first quote that I have of the 10 quotes is, you're welcome, Ken. The first quote is this: few things can make us feel crazier than expecting something from someone who has nothing to give. Wow, that's really powerful if you think about it. There are only a few things in life that can make us feel crazier, feel like we're going crazy, than sitting back and expecting something from someone who has nothing to give. Now, do I think that that person has nothing to give forever? No. But there are moments in our lives when we're really struggling. There's moments in our life that we're really going through the depths of anxiety, the depths of depression. And others are wanting us to show up a certain way. Others are wanting us to be something that we're not, to act in a way that we're not acting, to laugh in a way that we're unable to laugh. And that is so frustrating to the point that it could lead someone to insanity, just sitting back waiting for someone to give something that they don't have to give. It's kind of like, imagine going up to someone and say, hey, can I have $100 from your pocket? And they're like, they put their hand in their pocket and they say, I don't have $100 to give you. You're like, no, I want $100 from your pocket right now. And they say, I don't have $100. I have $2. No, I want $100 bill from your pocket right now. And you can go back and forth, and just that request and those excuses and the request, that can drive you nuts. And now check this out. Sometimes family members or spouses or parents or loved ones, they come into the recovery process and they want and demand things from their loved one in early recovery that their loved one does not have the ability to give. Like that same $100 bill. Like they want joy and enthusiasm and happiness. And guess what? They just don't have it to give. You want to know why? Because they just spent days, weeks, months, years, sometimes decades depressed, psychologically, emotionally, physically, spiritually depressed. And they just don't have anything to give. You know, you can't give from empty pockets. So that was the first one that I thought was really powerful, because I've seen, you know, I've done marriage couple therapy, for example. And one person wants the other person to be a certain way, but they just don't have it. Now you can try to force it and try to kind of pull it out and all that kind of stuff. It just doesn't happen. So the next one, the quote that I thought was really profound was, a codependent person is one who has let another person's behavior affect him or her and who is obsessed with controlling that person's behavior. So one of the hallmarks of codependency is loving you is killing me. Like that's the phrase. When loving you is killing me, that's codependency. And a codependent allows another person's behavior, so what they're doing, what they're saying, how they're engaging, to impact and negatively affect them. And as a byproduct of that, and they get wounded, they get hurt. So when you let someone else's behavior impact you, that can actually hurt you. And what do we do when we get hurt? We usually overcompensate. We overcompensate with the ways we do things, with the way we go about things, with the way that our behaviors manifest. And a lot of times, one of the hallmarks of that is control. So when somebody starts to control the behavior of another person, has less to do with the behavior of the other person, but more to do with how their behavior impacted them and how they're overcompensating for that. And as you can tell in your past, I mean, any one of the family members here could attest to this. The more you tried to control the addiction, what happened? The more it became out of control. The more you tried to control their behavior, what happened? The more it became out of control. Because here's the thing, it really wasn't about their behavior in the first place. It was about how their behavior was impacting you and dysregulating you and causing you to have a little bit of turmoil and chaos in your mind. And in order to calm that down and to be able to bring that to peace, guess what you did? You started to control it. So in that, you create a little illusion of relief. We know it doesn't work. So anytime in life that you see yourself getting in the controlling mode, you got to pause and ask yourself why. Why am I having the need to control this person's behavior? Is it because of them, or is it because of my own discomfort? You'll find some very valuable information in that pause and that question. This next one I like a lot. This one's really for people in recovery also, for substances, but obviously family members. It says, in martial arts, every time you graduate, you move to another level. You don't forget everything you've done. You build on it, but it's always there. Now, why is this important? Because as much as we want it to be, recovery is not a linear process. Recovery doesn't start from point A and end at point B, and everything in the middle is perfect. Recovery goes anywhere and everywhere and kind of like a bunch of scribbles going through. But I will tell you this, I taught this to you guys a few weeks ago. The recovery process is progressive. So the same way somebody picks up their drugs and alcohol, it's called the progressive nature of the disease of addiction. The same way they pick up their using after not using for a while, and after a few weeks or a few months, they're back to where they were in the beginning. Recovery is also progressive. You can pick up where you left off. So if someone's been in the recovery process for 5 years and they've had some relapses along the way, or a family member's been trying to help their loved one get clean for 5 years and it hasn't been linear, It doesn't mean that at year 5, you're starting from zero. At year 5, you are an accumulation of experiences and wisdom and nuggets that you've gained across the way, just like in martial arts. When someone has a blue belt or a brown or black belt, it's not like they forgot everything that happened in the initial belts. It all builds on each other. And eventually the goal is to get all of that experience, accumulate all of that experience, and to be able to have the end result, which is a fulfilled feeling of recovery. So I'll read that one again. In martial arts, every time you graduate to another level, you don't forget everything you've done. You build on it, but it's always there. You always build. In recovery, you're building. Like each week that you guys come, everyone comes back here, we're building on the previous week. And if you've been coming here for a month, we've been building on a month. When you've been coming here for a year, we've been building on a year. And if you've been coming here for a couple of years, you've been building for a couple of years. And that's why all of a sudden today when I talk, you hear things, you feel things, you see things that a year ago, 2 years ago, there is absolutely 0% chance you ever would have understood. Because you don't actually hear and see things as they are. You hear and see things as you are. See, I could be having the same conversation to 20 different people in various levels of sobriety, and 20 different people are going to hear 20 different things. Even though my words were the same to all of them, based on who they are and where they are in their journey, they're going to interpret and internalize this information and take something different from it. So hopefully that one made sense. The next one I have here, it says guilt can stop us from taking healthy care of ourselves. So let's stop there and think about what I just said. Guilt can stop us from taking healthy care of ourselves. So what is guilt? Guilt is simple. Guilt comes from one or two things only. There's no other place that guilt comes from. Guilt comes from doing something you shouldn't have done or not doing something you should have done. So guilt comes from either taking an action or not taking an action, which is called an inaction. So when you are filled with guilt, which I know a lot of family members are when they come in here, guilt, coulda, woulda, shoulda, all the things that you go back in your mind and think, if I would have done this, and this differently, then it would have been so much different for my kid or my spouse or my grandkid or my loved one, whatever the narrative is. That guilt, besides the fact that it's actually destroying you inside, is also preventing you from taking healthy care of yourself, because a person that's feeling guilty doesn't feel like they deserve to stop and take care of themselves. They just don't. The guilt and self-care don't live in the same world. They just don't. People that feel like they're fulfilled with guilt, they tend to do what people filled with guilt do, is isolate, withdraw, do stuff by themselves, not connect. So that was one that I thought was profound. Now, my favorite quote of all these, and I think I'm gonna try to put this one up on the screen, because this one is something that I can't tell you how many parents. I'm trying to put a banner up here real quick with this one. So give me 1 second. And there it is. It says, worrying, obsessing, and controlling are illusions. Okay? Are illusions. Now you might be thinking, well, what kind of illusions is this guy talking about? Worrying, it doesn't do any good. And here's the thing. I've been in a couple situations lately, myself, personally, professionally, that kind of stuff, that I've been worrying about certain things and certain outcomes. I've been obsessing about certain things, certain outcomes. I haven't been controlling because none of it was in my control, and I understand that. But I've been worrying excessively about certain things. So I'm not here saying that, hey, as the person facilitating this group and teaching these and talking about these nuggets and these wisdoms, that I am immune from falling into the trap of being a human being. Oh, it happens to me also. But as I say this right now, and I smile a little bit as I say it, because I understand what it is that I'm trying to relay. Worrying, obsessing, and controlling are illusions. They are only things that we do as coping skills to be able to manage some discomfort that we may be experiencing. When's the last time you worried something, like you had a problem and you worried your way into the solution? When's the last time you had a problem and you obsess without action, just obsessed about the solution? When's the last time that you had a problem and you controlled your way to the solution? The answer is never, never, and never. But we forget that. We, as in me also, we forget that. So why are these talks important for people like me to deliver them and for you to listen to, is to catch us saying, oh my gosh, I've been worrying about this for the past week. What am I doing? I've been obsessing about this for the past week. What am I doing? I've been trying to control people, places, and things. What the hell am I doing? What's up, Stephanie? Good to see you. Hope everything's going well. We miss Casey, but it's okay. I'm happy she's around family, but hope you're doing well. So worrying, obsessing, and controlling, my friends, they are all illusions. So I guess I could just put these quotes up because I have them here. It might be a little more engaging. So the next one I got here is, let's see, save and show. It says, sometimes people behave in certain ways to provoke us to react in certain ways. Oh, has every parent in the world learned that lesson? Has every spouse in the world learned that lesson? Has every employer in the world learned that lesson? So, here's a profound quote that's not this. This is mine, okay? I'm going to give you one of mine. If you want someone to behave differently, treat them differently. If you want someone to behave differently, treat them differently. Do something different. And I'm a big believer of that one, by the way. Big believer. So if you have a certain language that is rooted in dysfunction with your significant other or with your child or with your grandkid, and every time they go this way, you respond the same way, and they go this way and you respond the same way, and you kind of just mirror, it's like a dance. Like you criticize, they get angry, you get angry, they run away, you guys don't talk, whatever that whole thing is that you do, right? It's called like this dysfunctional codependent dance. Just know that by changing the way you behave and respond to someone, it will change the way that they behave and react. I know it's counterintuitive, and it might not make that much sense, but the only way you can test that theory is actually do it. So the next time someone is acting in a certain way and you're compelled to respond or react the same way you always do something different. Watch what happens. It will blow you away because they are not prepared for a different version. They are not prepared to the reactionary versions that have been created over the course of a lifespan. So sometimes people behave in certain ways to provoke us to react in certain ways. It's really easy to understand what I'm saying right now, but you know when it's not easy is when they behave in a certain way and it triggers you. It triggers fear. It triggers anger. It triggers past stories. It triggers guilt, shame. And then once our emotions are triggered, we're not thinking the way that I'm talking right now. We just react. So it's maybe a homework assignment for some of you to be able to respond a little bit differently to people, especially if there's a pattern there with them. So the next one that I have, this is a good one for codependence. I think some of you are not I think you all chuckle at this one. Might not like it, but you'll chuckle at it. So I'm pulling it up. Let's see what we got there. I think there's a comment too. Actually, Eileen, let me put Eileen's comment up. This is a good one. She said, sometimes the addiction is to drama. Therefore, provocation is to have the other person's engaged. 100%. So when she says the addiction is to drama, there is actually true evidence that some brains have dependency and wiring addiction to trauma, addiction to a drama, and also chaos. So I call it chaos. It's the same thing as drama over here. Chaos theory. If somebody is growing up in a life that's really chaotic and there's a lot of drama, dramatic things happening, their brain is getting wired for that to be the norm. Like chaos, drama is the norm of life. Like they expect things to be loud. They expect things to be over the top, dramatic, kind of, all those words that we're talking about here. And if that's the case, they're also the individuals that say, I feel like the calm before the storm. Like when things get really calm and mellow, they start to get anxious and uncomfortable. And what they do is they sometimes even self-sabotage. They sometimes even self-destruct in order to create drama, in order to create chaos, because then their brain goes, they feel normal again, because that's the only version of normalcy they ever had growing up. So, and by the way, so the other individual that's getting provoked to have the other person engage, they are also in some type of a dance with them too. So they are also sometimes a bystander, sometimes an innocent bystander, sometimes an active participant, a willing participant of that drama, It's yeah. And then she said, this is a great follow-up, Eileen. Thank you. Maybe Eileen, you might be my next co-host here. We'll do a session together, because I like what you're saying. And because of the other person engaging in that world is like their dance, their communication, it's also perceived as love. Oh, they're listening to me. Oh, they're there for me. They're supporting me. They're coming into this drama with me. They're being an active participant with me. It's because I'm so important. They don't know that all this is just enmeshed with dysfunction. All of it is. There's nothing. Drama is like the last thing. And by the way, there's something that's been proven also. When I say proven, I'm just talking about peer-reviewed research articles, that there has been a profound impact on reality TV and human relations. So reality TV shows, and sorry for this very, very odd tangent, reality TV shows, they are scripted. So I'm sorry to break the news to anybody who still thinks that they're not scripted. They are scripted. And the script, if you ever watch the way the patterns are in these shows, and I literally try my best not to watch these shows, is there's a situation that happens, a crisis unfolds, the crisis begins to escalate, which is what we call drama. And in that escalation, other people are getting pulled into the drama. So it becomes like a web. And what happens is, towards the end of the episode, it demonstrates the ability to bring it down so that the drama gets resolved. And it always leads, the teaser to the next episode is always going to be rooted in some type of drama and chaos, again, that you're going to see the following week. 100% of the time, every single episode. And it's, by the way, what we see in TV is what society is like. It's always like some type of a mirror. So therefore, people believe that in relationships, there needs to be some type of chaos, some type of discomfort, and then other people need to get involved in that web of chaos and drama, which creates addictive patterns, by the way. And then it needs to get resolved. Like people will say, I need to resolve this now. I have to resolve this now. This has to get resolved now. I have to fix this now. And then it leads to another one. And so, yeah, it's definitely not a sign of love. It's a sign of dysfunction and codependency, in my opinion. So thank you for that. So let's go back to this one. It says a codependent is reactionary. They overreact. They underreact, but rarely do they act. Wow. I mean, this is not a Parham quote, by the way. Let's just preface that for anyone that came here. This is from Melody Beattie, which is one of the pioneers. She's done a lot of work on codependency. She wrote a book in the 80s, called Codependent No More. She has a bunch of other books that are really beneficial for the recovery process. But she says a codependent is reactionary. They overreact. They underreact, but rarely do they act. So when someone's reactionary, by the way, that means they're not proactive with their communication. They wait for things to happen and their emotions get triggered and then they react. And like I said, when I said this earlier today, we're talking about control. What does that mean? When someone reacts and they overreact, I use the word overcompensation. So they go like full-blown control mode, or full-blown like helicopter mode, or full-blown like just right there, because they're just terrified. Or they underreact. This happens a lot of times. I've noticed this with products of divorce. So when there's two different versions of a divorce going on, so we'll call it the mom and dad are separated, and one home is like the one that's, rules, structure, control. You will abide by all these. It's and the other one's like becomes the best friend. It's like, yeah, do what you want to do. Just text me if you're coming late. Oh, I'm cool with it. Yeah, stay at your friend's house. No worries. Here's $100. So they kind of like do the exact opposite. Call it underreacting. They're both just as unhealthy. Some people might say, well, no, if controlling someone to that extent is way worse than doing that. It depends on how old the kid is. Depends how old the kid is, because sometimes the other version looks like a form of not being there, not supportive, almost like a form of neglect too. So, and what does it mean to act? Act means in real time. It doesn't mean to react based on emotions. Act means to be proactive in your life. It means to do things, not just say things. It means to show things, not just say things, to model things. So that's a wonderful, powerful quote there. Let's see, we got a comment there. Chaos. Jim said, chaos and drama loves. Thank you, Jim. Jim is so for those of you, Jim, I've been working with Jim for 6 years, over 6 years now. And he does a really good job of Jim's a very simple man. And what I mean by that is he's a man of few words. He could say that he could sit there and speak for like 2 hours if he wanted to and give a lecture on a lot of these topics that I lecture on. But when it comes down to just giving guidance or feedback or suggestions, he's very good at using simplicity, like keeping it simple. And sometimes I go around and do like a 7.5-minute tangent about something. And then Jim just says, chaos and drama loves chaos and drama. Yeah, well said, Jim. That's pretty much what I was trying to say. And it's not just loves it, it actually attracts it. So let's just be a little bit more, there's a magnet. It's like a magnet to it, right? It pulls to it. And it's like finds like. Let's see what Counselor Julian says here. Counselor Julian. Contentment or peace of mind can seem like boredom to those who are raised in or adjusted to chaos as a primary lifestyle. So Julian just said it better than I did too. So this goes back to Eileen's comment there, but contentment and peace of mind. So that's like when things are just going well. We like to use the word serenity, which, or, the word sanity, which is soundness of mind. Can seem like boredom. So when that's happening, people that were raised in chaos, they feel like I'm bored. I need to do something. I need some action. I need to feel something right now. And those are exactly the type of people that self-sabotage it until they get comfortable, by the way. So the same way he said that chaos as the primary lifestyle, they were raised in that. Eventually, if you get raised in contentment and peace of mind, which is like the ultimate goal for a lot of us, that eventually becomes a lifestyle too, that people don't want to lose that. Then the chaos becomes uncomfortable. Does that make sense? So great comments there, everyone. So this one's a little longer one. I don't even know if it's going to allow me to put a quote this long, but we're about to find out. Okay. So this next one, long. Sorry, everyone. I'm just trying to do so it's too long of a quote. So let me just read it to you real quick. It says, letting go helps us to live in a more peaceful state of mind and helps restore our balance. It allows others to be responsible for themselves and for us to take our hands off situations that do not belong to us. This frees us from unnecessary stress. Okay? There is so much in that one quote. I probably could have done an entire talk on that one quote. So let's start with the last part. This frees us from unnecessary stress. Now, how many parents or how many loved ones or grandparents or spouses or coworkers or siblings would want to be relieved of unnecessary stress as a result of the addiction of their loved one? I hope all the hands are up, double hands up, because unnecessary. I mean, there's some parts of stress in life that we all get, right? There's good stress, there's bad stress, some stress we just get looped into, but unnecessary stress, who wouldn't want to be free of that? I hope it's everyone. And it's saying the only way you do that is, and to be able to get in a peaceful state, is what some of the counselors here are talking about, is by letting go. And when we let go, and we talked about detaching, loving detachment. We talked about that, what that all means. But when you let go, and I'm not saying you let go of your loved one, that's just a horrible thing to do. You let go of being responsible for the consequences of their addiction. Right? You let go of that. That's what you let go of. You still love the hell out of them, right? You love the hell out of the human being, but you let go of the fact that I'm going to be responsible for their consequences of their addiction. And what it allows others to do is to be responsible for themselves and to take our hands off situations that don't belong to us. So how beautiful is it that by letting go, I'm actually giving the gift. I'm giving the gift to somebody to be able to be responsible for themselves. I mean, that's as good as it gets. Everybody always says one of the goals, one of the outcomes of recovery is self-sufficiency, is to be able to become fully self-sufficient. That's like one of the goals. Well, if you let go, you allow somebody to achieve that goal a little bit faster. Boredom is the beginning of peace and serenity. They just don't know how to handle it yet. And that's absolutely, it's boredom is a good state to be in, because the word boredom has a negative connotation to it, but serenity, or, lack of chaos, the absence of chaos, we can call it, is a beautiful place to go. It's just, it's a void. There's a gap there, because one of the teachers that I like, he shares the word boredom with inability to sit with oneself. He actually defines boredom as the inability to sit with oneself. Now, why is someone unable to sit with themselves? Because at some point in their life, when they sat with themselves, they were uncomfortable. Like if their situation at home, for example, we're talking about chaos and drama was tough. If you're a child and there's chaos and drama around you and you have to just sit there, it's uncomfortable. So you do anything you can, go anywhere but there, whether it's leaving through the level of mind, running away, playing video games, using substances, acting out, all that kind of stuff. Anything but here is what the message was for a lot of people. Let go with love. Absolutely. That's the loving detachment. Loving detachment. It's a different way of saying the same thing. So the next one here is a good quote. It's short. These next two are kind of short. Let's put it in. Oops, sorry. So this one says, we do not lead others into the light by stepping into the darkness with them. Now, this is a pretty powerful one. So stepping into the darkness in our world right here, we're obviously talking about addictions. We're talking about the things people do in their addictions. We're talking about mental illness, severe depression, anxiety, any type of thought disorders, all that kind of stuff like that. What we want to do sometimes as human beings is to go and help. And when we go down to certain levels with certain people and and entertain and engage certain ways of life in the darkness, let's just call it, we actually don't lead them into the light. What that does is it sucks us into that world, and it creates our world into a darkness. It creates our world into darkness. And then we just got the blind leading the blind. There's no flashlights down there. So one person has to be out in the light, and to become so magnetic and so inspiring and so loving and so compassionate. And how do we do that? Is by focusing on ourselves. That's the part that most parents don't understand when they're new, or people don't understand recovery. They say, if you want to help your loved one out, take care of yourself. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? I have no problems. I'm fine. That's the person that needs the help. What do you mean help myself out? When you start to recover yourself, and hopefully we've established all these weeks, months, and years that you're just as impacted by addictions as your loved one is. Just because they were the one putting the substance in your body, you also experience all the side effects. You have ups and downs and come downs and everything in between. So when you start working on yourself, all of a sudden you become magnetic, you become attractive. Like we have a saying in the 12-step rooms that says attraction rather than promotion. Like I can go and promote recovery all I want, but until I'm a man of recovery and someone sees me and says, hey, I want what you have, no one's going to listen to a word I got to say. Nobody. So until you become a family member that lives in recovery, you're not going to be able to go inspire somebody else to join recovery. It just doesn't work that way. Zero possibility. And by the way, if you choose to do it for like the first 30 days and you're like, well, I'm in recovery now, how come they're not coming yet? It takes a while for patterns to get built. They have a version of you for like 20, 30 years of what you were like before recovery. And now 30 days later, they're not going to be like, oh, my mom's changed. My dad's changed. That's not even real. The same way, if your loved one's been doing drugs for the past 10 years and now they're 30 days sober, you don't sit back and say, everything's good now. They're fully changed and transformed. It takes time. So are you willing to do the recovery work for yourself for an extended period of time? And again, if you don't think that you need to do stuff for yourself, then you've missed a lot of the meat and potatoes of these conversations. I honestly believe that family members are struggling just as much as individuals going through the addiction process. I wholeheartedly believe that. And maybe if you just keep coming back and see if you can understand that one for yourself. Jim said another one there. This was related to the one that can't go in the darkness. He said, I can help you. I can help you out, but I'm not going in with you. And there's nothing wrong with that. We can stand right outside, right there, knowing that as soon as they come out, we'll be there to give them a big hug, a big embrace, support them. But we don't got to go in and fight other people's fights. And again, there's times that if you look back in your history, you've done that. And if you've done it before in the past and now you know better, now you just do better. Before you get exposed to this information, I understand it. Family members run into the darkest, deepest places with their loved ones trying to help them and resolve them and fix them. And because they don't know any better, and that's okay. We do the best we can with the information, knowledge that we have at the time. And now that you have new information, new knowledge, if you don't apply what you know now, then I don't know what to tell you. And the very last one we have is kind of a nice, beautiful way to wrap this one up. I'm just pulling up this last one, leaving it on this. It's a really nice platform. It allows me to really teach and interact in a good way. So last one here says, wait, where'd it go? Gratitude makes sense of our past, brings peace for today, and creates a vision for tomorrow. Now, if you're really new watching these things and you're like, wait a second, why is this guy sitting here on a Saturday having us talk about gratitude when my loved one is struggling and dying of addictions? Like, what the hell is this guy talking about? I'm in the wrong place. I understand that feeling firsthand. When I was personally getting sober, I remember people saying that they're grateful for their addiction, and I thought they were out of their mind. I never understood it. And then later on, I started to hear my mom saying things like, I'm grateful for my loved one's addiction. I was like, what the hell happened there? It was the worst thing that's ever happened to her in her whole life. They call it the qualifier. I'm grateful for my qualifiers, drug addiction or alcoholism. And later on, I started to realize, like, why are all these people grateful for all this? Because when you truly get into the essence of gratitude about all of this, like, life is what? It's 100 years long if you're lucky. It's 90 years long if you're lucky. It's 80 years long if you're lucky. The first 10 years of it, they're very, very important, formative, but people always push it aside as if you're a child and it doesn't matter, which they do. It does. In the last 10 years of it, hopefully we're in good health, good shape, good. But if we're not, we're struggling through just the health of life. So what's left in the middle is, if we don't find meaning for all this stuff, if we don't find meaning for all of our experiences, the good, bad, the ugly, if we can't tap into some type of a gratitude for it in terms of, like, look what happened and look where I am, look what I'm experiencing. If we can't find all that, we will never be able to tie the past to the present to the future. We'll never be able to create any peace out of this. We'll never be able to have a vision for any of this. We will literally just be lost on this big, big, big planet that's moving many, 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 many miles an hour in this unlimited, infinite galaxy while it spins around itself. I say it to that extent because I really want you to get the hold of this, is the importance of gratitude in the recovery process, even if it's small things, even if it's the smallest freaking things that you can do. I want you to know that without having that, we have no purpose for all of our experiences. No purpose for all of our experiences. And without purpose in our experiences, we are lost in this world. Like I said, this world, this planet Earth, it moves many thousands of miles through this infinite thing called the galaxy, while spinning many thousands of miles around itself. And we're just going. So you don't think your experiences mean anything, and they're that painful to not look and find, like, different lessons through them? I mean, then we're missing the whole boat here. So let's see what we got here. Some comments. Jim, this is something that they have in a couple AA rooms too, I've seen, which I love this saying. It says, grateful people are happy people, and those who aren't. Well said. Cataline, it's true. I probably wouldn't have gone on this journey if it wasn't in recovery. I'm more content than ever before. And that's a really beautiful thing to say, by the way. This is someone that's gone through many, many life experiences, highly educated, highly trained, all that kind of stuff like that. But would have never taken this journey within. Took a lot of journey in books and jobs and experiences and travel and all that kind of stuff. But the journey within, which is the most important journey we can ever take, she probably would have never taken it if it wasn't for recovery. and more content now than ever before. Debbie, thank you so much, Param. You're welcome. As I always say, I learn and hear something new each week, even though I've been participating for 2 years. I know it's been 2 years. Really cool. I'm so grateful for how far we have come as a family. We have definitely found meaning in this journey. We are all better humans for this experience. Thank you so much. I mean, it's just been an honor to be a guide, I guess. That's what I'll call myself here, because you're doing all the work yourself. And Eileen, I have so much gratitude for Saturday mornings together. I do too. I really do. It's I plan my weekends around this just to make sure that I'm always here and present for it. So love and appreciate all of you. I do hope that I'll see you back next week. Again, next week I'll be here. The following week, it's going to be a little bit later, but we're going to do the celebration of sobriety. So you're going to see some people come take birthday chips and all that kind of stuff. It's interesting. If you don't watch it live, it's just worth watching later on. And outside of that, love and appreciate you, and hope you have a wonderful Saturday. I will see you soon next week, same time next week. Have a wonderful weekend and a great week. Bye, everyone.